Okay, Jordyn, thank you for letting me interview you. Can you first please introduce yourself? And that can include your name, your major, your applicable minors, as well as your pre-professional track and your school.
Um, my name is Jordyn Doyle, and I'm planning on double majoring in psychology and sociology. Um, no minors. I am in Navy ROTC, and so after graduating, I plan to join the Navy.
That's great. And what school do you go to?
I go to the University of Washington.
All right, cool. So what made you want to double major in psychology and sociology?
The FBI has always been a career interest of mine, and I really wanted to major in criminal justice, but UW does not have a criminology or criminal justice specific degree. So psychology was the next best thing. I'm really interested in the brain and how it works in like psychopaths and sociopaths because their brain structures are different. So that's why I wanted to do psych. And sociology is just another interest of mine. A lot of the classes that come with it are like, international politics or war in other countries. And so it's stuff that's applicable to like my Navy career.
That's great to hear. And why did you choose to go to University of Washington?
Um, to be completely honest, I didn't want to go to UW. It was my last choice. It was my safety school. But I applied to Ivies and a bunch of schools in California because that's where I wanted to end up. And I didn't get in, so I got into UW, so that's where I am.
No, yeah, that's totally fine. So I know that you did Running Start. Do you have any advice, or do you think that Running Start is a great thing for kids in Washington to do while in high school?
So Running Start is a really good program, and I don't regret a single minute of it. I think that there's a lot that you don't get told or a lot of misinformation when you take Running Start. I like if you are someone who doesn't enjoy the social aspect of high school necessarily, and you want to be ahead for college, Running Start's a really good program. I did full-time Running Start, so 15 credits every quarter, and I was still able to take one class at my high school, so I was still able to be involved, and that was perfect for me. It's really nice to be in that atmosphere of people who are doing school because they want to be there. So that was something that was different for me instead of just being in high school and everybody has to be there. So like it's not a choice. You have a lot more option with the classes you get to take. So it's really good if you don't know what you want to do in the future, but you know you want to go to college because it's extremely cheap and you're getting college classes, college credit, and that way you can take college level classes and like take different ones to figure out what you like and what you don't like without feeling like you're wasting money or wasting time because you're still technically in high school and it's very cheap, so it's not a waste of money like it would be if you were at a university. The misinformation I had is that I would go in with as a junior because I got 90 credits, so I graduated with my associates, and that I would only have to do 2 years. Do your research because a lot of my classes, I did transfer with all 90 credits. So I had junior standing and I have senior standing now going into my second year. So it's nice to be able to get into classes before a lot of my friends who are freshmen or sophomore standing. But a lot of the credits that transferred are like XX classes, so they transferred as electives. So I still have the credit, but they didn't transfer directly as a class. So I have to retake some classes that I did take at Wacom at my community college because it wasn't like exactly the equivalent that UW has, or they do their curriculum a little different. Like even the smallest difference means that you may have to retake that class at university, especially if you are going to a STEM-based school, because a lot of my STEM classes didn't transfer because, at a STEM-based school, they want you to take their classes. So that's don't do it because you think you're only going to have 2 years. Yes, you could probably get it into that, but there is the possibility of not. I'm doing 4 years, but partly because of my double major. So like make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, I guess, and be fully educated about it.
No, yeah, that's great advice. Thank you for sharing that little bit. Can do you happen to know if Running Start is in most states, or do you just know for sure if it's in Washington?
So it's really difficult. Running Starts in a lot of high schools offer it in Washington. It's very popular here, and it's really popular, I think, in Oregon. I know for a fact that very few California schools, if any, do Running Start. It really depends on the state. I don't know exactly how many states do it, but it's not a lot. I think more and more are starting to do it, but it's also like where you are in that state, because some states, like in Idaho, if you're in a certain town, then you can do Running Start, but in another town you can't. So it's like it's an opportunity, so I think it's good to take advantage of it because not a lot of kids have that.
All right, cool. And right now, what are some extracurriculars that you are currently participating in?
So when I was at school, I was doing dance through the university, and I participated in extra shows that they were doing. But my main extracurricular is ROTC.
So what advice would you give to students who are interested in ROTC?
It's an extremely good program. It definitely depends on the branch. So do your research on what branch you would want to go into. And certain schools only offer certain branches. I know most schools that do ROTC have Navy and Army, but then if it's more than that, then they don't have every branch. So UW has Army, Navy, Air Force, and then Marines, but Marines is under the Navy. And so I think that it's a great program because if you go in on scholarship, you're getting your tuition paid for, you're getting a stipend every month, so you're getting money from them personally, and you also get a book stipend for school books every quarter. So it's great because you get school paid for, and after that you only have to give the amount of years in service that they paid for you, so whether that's 4, 3, or 2. And it depends on the branch. Navy and Marines, you go active duty, so if you don't want to be in danger, I mean, it depends on what the world is at the time, but if you don't want to be like actively out there, then that is what the Navy does. I know the Air Force, or not the Air Force, the Army has options. You can go on reserves, so a lot of them will recruit. They go into recruitment, so those are the people that go to high schools to talk to high school students or go to fairs and set up their booth. So definitely figure out what you want to do, because if you don't want to actively be fighting or like have that be a concern, I do suggest the Army because they have a little bit more options for what you can do after you graduate. It's a great program though. Going in, I was not on scholarship. I missed the application. There was some mix up with my counselor, so definitely don't like rely on school counselors. Do your own research and make sure you personally know the stuff that you need to know. And so I went in a quarter late. I'm a college programmer right now, and it can be hard to get on scholarship after you've been a college programmer, but you can definitely get it for a 3-year scholarship or a 2-year scholarship. Is a possibility. The only difference with college programmers is you're not getting paid, and you're not having your school paid for, and you aren't committed, so you can't deploy or commission after. So how that works is like I'm training with everyone that's on scholarship. Nothing is different for me. It's just that if I do college programmer until I graduate, which I'm planning on getting on scholarship, then I won't commission. So if I still want to do the Navy, then I have to go to boot camp. So this is it's a great way to avoid boot camp and still be able to do a branch of the military. Boot camp is very hard. So it's 8 weeks of a high intense boot camp squished in, or extended into 4 years while you're getting an education. A lot of people that do it are doing it because they didn't just want to go into the military. They also wanted to get a college education. So it's a perfect way to do that. So definitely figure out what you want, so that you go in prepared. It doesn't hurt me being a college programmer. It's just more difficult for me after the fact.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for sharing that little bit of advice about ROTC. How much time commitment do you think you give to ROTC per week?
So it definitely depends, again, on what branch of the military you're in, and what school you go to. But for the most part, we do training in the mornings before classes because that's when everybody's schedule is free. So for me personally, in the Navy, at UW, I usually wake up around 5:30. On Mondays and Wednesdays, we have PT, which is physical training. So that's going to be an hour of working out basically with your other battalion and company members. And we do that from 6:30 to 7:30. On Tuesdays, we have lab, which is more specific for the Navy, I think, and that's just updated. We get updated on current events that are happening in the world. It's different trainings, like we have sexual assault, we have like drug and alcohol use in the Navy, we have just like different things like that to educate us on how like life is in the Navy. And those are Tuesday mornings, again from about 6 to 7:30 or 8, depends on who's talking and how long they talk for. And then Fridays we have optional PT. Bulldog Company, which is the Marine kids, they have required PT on Fridays as well. So they have an extra day of fitness that the Navy kids don't have. And then for freshmen, on Thursday mornings and Tuesday nights, you have drill practice, and that's an hour each, and that is working with guns for the drill performance that you do in spring. So, and then those are all your required times. Other than that, we have once a month, your company will clean our hangout space or office that we can go and do homework. Pretty much required commitment that we give to them. Obviously, there's more that you can do with volunteer opportunities. Northwest Navy is a big one. That's pretty Pacific Northwest centered, though. I don't know if East Coast people do it, or more South do it. It's us competing against other schools with the Navy, their Navy kids in a big competition in spring. So yeah, I mean, those are required stuff, and then obviously what you put in, you're gonna get out after, above and beyond. So.
All right, cool. Thank you for sharing about your time schedule and everything. Can you talk a little bit about your experience at UW? What you like about it? Is there great academic support? Do you like the student to teacher ratio? How is dorm life for you? Things like that.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that UW was not my first choice. It was my last choice. I didn't want to go there, but being at the school, even like a couple weeks in, I think I was talking to my mom about it, and I was telling her that I loved it. Like, the campus is gorgeous. It's definitely it's perfect. You're in the middle of the city, but it has plenty of trees in it. So it's like, yeah, it's just a gorgeous campus. There's always fun events going on. So, I mean, there's always something to do. The student to teacher ratio obviously depends on the class that you're taking. I haven't yet been in a class that was more than probably 250 kids for a lecture, which like that seems like a lot, but the teachers have their office hours and you have TAs. My biggest class had 8 TAs, so teachers assistants, and then they would teach your quiz section of like, I don't know, I think the most I had was probably like 15 to 20 people in a psychology quiz section. And so you really get to know your TAs more personally than you would your professor. And though they are students, they do meet with the professor and they tell your professor about you, like whether you're doing bad, you know, what things that you're doing good. Like your professor does hear about you through them. So I think there's a need to have big classes because of the demand for them. And but it's not, I don't think that hurts you getting to know people, the professors and other students, TAs in your department. Dorm life, I definitely recommend to all freshmen live in a dorm. It's great. You really get to meet other people. I met some of my best friends in the same dorm as me, and they weren't my roommates. And so you really get to meet people, and it's a really cool sense of community because a lot of people are in the same situation as you. A lot of people living in dorms are freshmen or sophomores. And it's just a great way to make friends. You're on campus, you're in like the thick of what's happening with campus. And there's a lot of opportunities for things you can do, like RCSA, so volunteering with your dorm and other things like that. I wouldn't definitely do dorms. Obviously that's hard if you live close to your school. But yeah, what else was to talk about?
No, you answered all the questions I needed to. So for your roommates, did you do random? Did you find them on the Facebook post? Like, do you recommend for students to like dorm with somebody they know already, or dorm with somebody that is like completely random and new?
So that obviously depends on the person, your comfort, if you're going far away from home. For me, I'm a first gen, so my parents didn't go to college and we had no idea what we were doing. So I had friends that were going to UW, but nobody that I would have like wanted to dorm with, I guess, or that I was close enough that I was like, hey, we should room together. So I got completely random roommates. I didn't find them on Facebook. I didn't do any of that stuff. Once I got my assignment, I emailed them and just was like, hey, like, nice to meet you online, like, you know, and talking about like most of what we talked about before we met in person when we moved in together was like stuff that we were getting for the dorm. So who was getting what. So I had 2 roommates. They knew each other. They were from the same hometown, but they went to different high schools. So they weren't close friends. They met on an outreach project that they did in Panama, for a week. And so they just kind of both found out they were going to UW and they were like, hey, we should room together. It depends on the kind of people that you mesh with, who your roommates are. I'm really close with one of my roommates and the other we don't talk to anymore. And they knew each other coming in, but they weren't close friends, but they were like friends. And now they don't talk. I don't know a lot of people that roomed with people they know as like both going in as freshmen. 2 of my really good friends were roommates and they did know each other from high school, but one was a sophomore. I think it's good to room with people you don't know, because it's a good way to meet new people and it puts you out of your comfort zone without being too scary, I guess. Also, you never know what's going to happen with the people, like your friends going in. You never know if you're going to, drift apart. or stay super tight, and being a roommate with them can make it kind of awkward. I also think it's good to kind of go into college on your own. Like, you're still gonna see that person, you can still hang out and meet up and all that, but being with them 24/7 after already knowing them can be a lot. So, and it can, that can cause a tear in your friendship. So I think I definitely recommend, room with people you don't know, because if you're going to the same college as friends, you're already going to know people there, and it's a great way to meet new people. You can make other friend groups and like kind of get that first push into college life and get out of your comfort zone, because college is going to push you out of your comfort zone so much. And that way, you don't know if you can live with your friend, and you don't want that to be the cause of any friendship issues. And then if you want, live with them your sophomore year. I think having kind of a year break is good for you, and that's why my two friends that roomed together after knowing each other worked out so well, is because they had already had a year apart, where one was at college and one was still in high school. They still fought a ton and complained about each other all the time, but they knew that was something that they could do without it causing too many issues. So
cool. Thank you so much for sharing about your advice on the whole dorming situation. So now we're going to switch more towards like the college application process. So personally, how did you feel overall about that process?
College applications aren't too complicated for the most part. I definitely recommend doing the Common App. That's an extremely easy thing, and it's one application to get sent to. I mean, not all of my colleges were on it. I think I only had about 4 or 5 colleges I applied to 8 that were on the Common App. But it gets a lot out of the way, and then it has everything listed out for you. It's super easy. You just, click the colleges that you want to send it to, and then it adapts based on the requirements that it has. So it will say like whether something that you're doing is for all colleges, 2 of them, 1 of them. So, the basic application, which is all your information, everything is for all of them. And then it's like I had a couple essays that were for, UW, and a couple different essays that were for Stanford, and, stuff like that. So it's super easy application. Just going to the website and looking up applications is pretty much how I did it, I think. Definitely don't rely on your counselors, but go to your counselors for help if you're having any trouble. That is helpful. Definitely figure out how you can go about it. I spent so much money on college applications. They add up. They may not seem expensive, but they do add up. And so definitely see if there's any way you can get fee waivers or some type of aid for the application, so that it's reduced, like, fee reductions, anything like that. Because those can be helpful. I did applications over probably 3 or 4 months just to space them out, but I think my applications, I applied to 8 schools, added up to be around $800. So if I could have gotten a fee waiver, that would have been great. Because it's just a way for them to get more money. So like, I definitely recommend looking into that and seeing what you can do, because it's nice to not have to pay that. So
Oh, yeah, for sure. That makes sense. Did you mentioned how you did your applications for around 3 or 4 months? When did you start researching about colleges?
I didn't put a lot of research into colleges. I definitely would go back and switch how I like the research I did before applying to colleges, and I probably would have done more. Going in as a first gen, I did a lot of it on my own, and my parents couldn't give me a lot of advice because they didn't know anything, them not going to college and me not having an older sibling. So I definitely recommend look at the college, make sure they have the major that you want. See if it's going to be like a good fit for you in general, just based off, the things that you can look on the website. I mean, you can go to About Us or something, and it'll tell you the basic things about the college. So I definitely wish I had done more of that, because I didn't do a lot. I just kind of applied to colleges that I wanted to go to. I applied to a bunch down in California because my family lives there and I wanted to get somewhere sunny because I come from somewhere rainy. And I applied to Ivy Leagues just to see if I could get in because a couple of those were like dream schools for me. And make sure that you apply to a safety school, at least one or two. Your counselor should tell you that, and they should, if you don't know what a safety school would be for you, go to a counselor and talk to them based on your grades, your SAT or ACT scores. They can tell you what would be a safety school. It's typically going to be something in your state because it's harder to get into out-of-state schools. So Wazoo was a safety school for me. That was something that was like, there would be no reason for me to not get in. UW was a safety / guarantee for me. And thank God I applied to both those schools because I didn't get into any others. So like make sure, even if you don't want to go to a school in your state or the schools that are options, like it's kind of a necessity.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. You kind of answered all the other questions I had listed for you under that one question, but that's totally fine. I really do appreciate it. So finally, the last question then would be, do you have any advice for current high school students? And that can be about if they're interested in UW, if they're interested like in ROTC, just in general, like any advice you'd have for high school students wondering about college.
Definitely just like, I've known what I've wanted to do for a long time, and that was, that was going to be my plan. I had my plan figured out, but plans change. Like be ready for things to not go the way you expect it, you wanted it, you planned for it, because that's how life is. So be adaptable, be ready to be flexible. And everyone told me that I talked to, like, don't close doors, keep options open, like experience new things. Like, you may know what you want to do, but that could change, or you could not be happy. Like, try different things. So I definitely say, like, it's so hard to do, but push yourselves out of your comfort zone. Like, apply to a school in a state if you're a homebody, like out of state, so that, yeah, just like try to get yourself out there, because this is the perfect time to like experience the world, experience life. Again, with Running Start, if it's an option, I definitely recommend, even if you do part-time, which is 5 or 10 credits, which is typically about one class is 5 credits, like just to kind of get in that college atmosphere and that college mindset, to be prepared for like a heavier course load in a faster pace than what high school does, because that is something that it wasn't a shock condensing an entire year into 10 weeks. So I would recommend doing it. That way you can try different classes. With ROTC, it's definitely dependent on the person, but there's not really a downside to it. It does come with structure, and it does come with like, first quarter I wasn't in it, so I was able to go out and stay out late. And second quarter I went to bed at 10:30 or 11 every night because I had to be up so early. So like, it does come with structure, but it's a great opportunity. You meet new people that you wouldn't have met if you didn't do it. If you do scholarship and get it, you have college paid for the most part. Yeah, and just like, high school isn't everything. So, think ahead to college, because people will tell you that high school is supposed to be the best time of your lives, but I honestly think it's college. So, you're not going to become a new person in college, but try to give yourself the best abilities and opportunities to fully grow into the person you can be, and push your limits, because I'm doing things I never thought I would do, because I considered myself a shy introvert in high school, and I still would think of myself as that, but people might say otherwise that met me after college because of just I've learned to live life and enjoy things more. So yeah, be ready for that too. Is just, you're not going to change, but you're going to like learn more about yourself. Bless you.
Thank you. And okay, cool. All right. Thank you so much for letting me interview you, Jordyn.
Yeah.